Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something huge, something really critical for anyone in real estate. Decarbonization. We all know buildings, well, they're a big piece of the emissions puzzle, right? Like almost 40% of energy-related greenhouse gases. Huge. So this isn't just about being green, it's strategy, it's value. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We've got this guide, yeah, a really clear, practical roadmap, 10 steps aimed right at you, the owner, the manager, anyone needing to navigate this. We want to get beyond the what and into the why and the how. How does this actually transform your properties, your portfolio? Because look, it matters now more than ever. It's about hitting sustainability targets, sure, but it's just as much about cutting operating costs, boosting asset value, and honestly future-proofing against regulations, tenant demands, market shifts. It's just smart business. Yeah, let's unpack it. This is practical stuff.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental shift, isn't it? How we even think about value in real estate, the environment, and the economics. They're totally intertwined now for long-term success. You can't really have one without the other anymore.
Okay, so step one. Where do you even begin? It starts with understanding your carbon footprint. Seems obvious, maybe?
Oh.
But for buildings, it's more complex than just looking at the electricity bill. You've got your operational emissions, day-to-day energy use, heating, cooling, lights. That's scope 1 and 2, mostly. But the sources we looked at really hammer home the importance of embodied carbon, too.
Yeah, that's crucial.
All the emissions baked into the materials themselves, manufacturing, transport, construction, it can be a massive chunk over the building's life, plus waste, water.
Right.
The guide mentions tools, specific calculators, or getting professionals in for a detailed audit. That's key for finding the real hotspots, especially across a whole portfolio.
And that initial assessment, honestly, without it, you're just guessing. Flying blind, really. Getting that baseline isn't just ticking a box. It's absolutely fundamental if you want to set goals that are, actually measurable, realistic. You might find, say, one old building's heating system is responsible for more emissions than 5 or 6 newer ones combined. Boom. That tells you exactly where to focus first for the biggest bang for your buck.
Okay, makes sense. So once you have that baseline, that clear picture of where you are, the next logical step, step 2, is figuring out where you're going. Setting clear decarbonization goals.
Exactly, your destination.
And the guide is pretty firm on this. These need to be specific, time-bound targets, not just vague promises. They should align with the big global standards, like the Paris Agreement targets. So concrete examples might be aiming for a 50% emissions cut by 2030, net zero by 2050. These aren't just numbers plucked out of the air. They're becoming the expectation from investors, regulators, even tenants. They really become your guiding star.
That's spot on. If you connect it to the bigger picture, these targets, they stop being just wishful thinking. They become the actual framework for your retrofits, your operations, everything.
Yeah.
Having clear goals lets you prioritize spending, manage resources smartly, and crucially, show real commitment. It moves you past accusations of greenwashing into a strategy that's verifiable. Every action then lines up with that big goal.
Right. Foundation laid, goals set. Now for the action. Step 3, prioritize energy efficiency. And this is where it gets really interesting, potentially some quick wins here.
Definitely. Often the most impactful first moves.
We're talking practical stuff. Upgrading those ancient HVAC systems, beefing up insulation walls, roofs, windows, swapping out old lights for LEDs.
Standard stuff, but important.
But what's insightful is thinking about the order. Like maybe you improve the building envelope first, better insulation, better windows. If you do that before you upgrade the HVAC, you might actually need a smaller, cheaper HVAC system because the building just doesn't leak as much heat or cold.
That's a key strategic point. Yeah, sequence matters.
And the beauty of it is that dual benefit, right? Cut emissions, yes, but also cut energy bills. Often a pretty clear ROI.
Absolutely. It's not just low-hanging fruit. It's often the necessary groundwork for everything else. Our source points out that these early wins don't just save money on utilities, they also make the building way more comfortable for the people inside.
Ah, right. Occupant comfort.
Which links directly to tenant satisfaction, keeping them happy, keeping them there longer. That's a real financial benefit, even if it's harder to put an exact number on it immediately. A comfy building with lower bills, that's a strong selling point.
Okay, so efficiency first. Then step 4 pushes further, incorporating renewable energy, moving from using less to using cleaner.
Right, generating or sourcing clean power.
So this means looking at things like rooftop solar panels, maybe wind turbines if the site works for it, but it's not always about putting panels on your roof, is it? The guide also mentions things like power purchase agreements, PPAs.
Yeah, PPAs are a big one. Buying renewable energy directly from an off-site project. Gives you long-term price certainty too, often.
And the impact is pretty obvious. Less reliance on the grid, which is often fossil fuel heavy, and a direct cut in your operational emissions. It's a path towards more energy independence.
And think longer term. The strategic advantage goes way beyond just the emissions. Generating your own clean power or locking in a green PPA shields you from volatile energy prices. That predictability, it's huge for budgeting.
Yeah, energy costs can swing wildly.
Exactly. It makes your assets more resilient to economic shocks, potential carbon taxes down the line. It's a strategic play that keeps paying off, turns a variable cost into something manageable, even sustainable.
Okay, let's talk tech. Step 5, adopting smart building technologies. This is where things get quite futuristic, maybe. Integrating intelligence into the building itself.
It's becoming very practical now, actually.
Right, we're talking IoT, Internet of Things, sensors everywhere, AI analyzing the data, optimizing energy use constantly, in real time. Think systems that adjust heating, cooling, lights not just on a timer, but based on who's actually in the room, what the weather's doing outside, even predicting needs before they happen. They're not just flashy gadgets. They turn the building from a passive box into something dynamic, something that responds.
Precisely.
The benefit, less waste, much better efficiency. The building basically manages itself intelligently.
And what's really transformative, I think, is that shift you mentioned. Buildings become learners. They adapt. They're constantly collecting data, seeing patterns, making tiny adjustments, maybe ones humans wouldn't even notice, to keep everything running optimally.
Saves energy, sure, but what else?
Well, it often improves comfort, too. Better air quality management, more consistent temperatures, that feeds right back into tenant experience, potentially supporting higher rents or better retention. It's a whole different way of operating a building.
Okay, so you're making all these changes, efficiency, renewables, smart tech, but how do you know if it's actually working? How do you prove it? That's step 6, benchmark performance.
Crucial step, measuring your progress.
This means basically comparing your building's performance energy use emissions against something else, like industry averages or maybe best-in-class buildings similar to yours, or even just other properties in your own portfolio.
Right. Context is everything.
And the purpose is pretty clear. Find the slackers, identify the buildings lagging behind that might need more attention, see if your strategies are actually delivering the results you expected, track it all over time. It gives you that hard data for decision-making.
And it forces you to ask that key question. Are we just busy, or are we actually getting better? Benchmarking gives you the objective answer. It lets you put your resources where they'll make the most difference. Plus, it's solid proof you can show investors, stakeholders, proof of real, measurable improvement. It takes the guesswork out of it.
It's easy to get lost in the tech and the data, isn't it? But step 7 brings it back to people. Engage stakeholders. This isn't something building owners can just do in isolation.
No, absolutely not. Buy-in is critical.
This really stresses working with everyone involved. Your tenants, obviously, your investors, the contractors doing the work, your own management teams, getting everyone aligned on the sustainability goals, sharing the responsibility. And the source highlights a really practical tool here. Green leases. These aren't just symbolic. They're actual lease clauses where landlords and tenants agree to cooperate on sustainability.
Yeah, they can be very effective.
Like maybe the lease specifies energy-efficient fit-outs for the tenant space, or requires sharing utility data so you can both work on saving energy.
Right.
It turns the tenant into a partner.
And when you create that shared goal, that shared accountability through things like green leases, you build a stronger ecosystem around the building. Everyone feels invested. It leads to deeper, more lasting change than just the landlord trying to impose rules. It also, frankly, de-risks the whole process because you know you have that cooperation essential for hitting those ambitious targets.
Okay, but let's talk money. All these upgrades, the smart tech, the renewables, it sounds expensive. Which brings us to step 8, leverage financial incentive. How do you actually pay for all this?
Yeah, the cost question is always front and center.
And the key message here seems to be, don't overlook the financial help that's out there. It's often significant, but maybe underused.
Very often, yes.
We're talking government grants, tax credits, federal, state, local, plus specific green financing options from banks or funds designed just for these kinds of projects. Retrofits, renewables.
There's quite a range available.
And our sources suggest these aren't just minor discounts. They can really take a big bite out of the upfront cost, making projects look much more attractive financially.
It's absolutely vital to actively research this stuff. Dig into what's available in your specific region. Governments want this transition to happen, so they often put significant money behind it. Ignoring these incentives, you're just leaving cash on the table. It makes the journey tougher and more expensive than it needs to be. Understanding these programs can drastically improve the ROI.
All right, we're nearing the end of the list. Step 9 focuses on the long game. Monitor and report progress. This isn't a one-and-done thing. It needs ongoing attention and accountability.
Continuous improvement, exactly.
So, regularly tracking how you're doing against those goals you set way back at the start. And crucially, reporting it transparently, not just keeping it internal, but sharing it with stakeholders. Apparently, this builds trust with investors, tenants, the community. And here's a really specific, important detail the guide brings up: tracking progress against the SRIM path.
Yes, SIM, very important framework.
SRIM, that's the Carbon Risk Real Estate Monitor. It basically sets out science-based decarbonization pathways for different types of buildings in different places. It's a tool to see if your building's emissions trajectory is on track with, say, the Paris goals, or if it's falling behind.
And therefore, at risk of becoming a stranded asset.
Exactly. Stranded asset. What does that mean in practical terms?
It's a huge financial risk. Asset stranding isn't some abstract environmental concept. It means your building could literally lose value. If it's not decarbonizing fast enough, it becomes less attractive. Tenants might shun it. Investors might see it as risky. Operating costs could rise with carbon taxes. It might even become obsolete sooner. So, monitoring against SRIM, that's proactive risk management. It's about protecting and even enhancing the long-term value.
Wow, okay. That really connects the environmental performance directly to financial risk. Powerful stuff.
And that brings us to the final step, step 10, which the source positions as, well, potentially revolutionary. Leveraging AI to supercharge the whole process, really diving into these optimization tools.
This is where things get really cutting edge, yeah.
The guide mentions platforms Look-Through was the example given that use AI to fundamentally change how you approach decarbonization.
These platforms are becoming quite sophisticated.
Imagine using AI to simulate thousands of different retrofit combinations, predicting the cost, the emission savings, the impact on occupants for each scenario. Yeah, the modeling capability is incredible.
And then the AI helps you optimize, find the absolute best strategy for your specific building or portfolio, balancing all those factors. These tools pull together the data collection, the analysis, the benchmarking we talked about, making it way easier to find the most cost-effective path to your goals. It's like having a super smart advisor guiding your every move.
That's a good way to put it. AI shifts decarbonization from being reactive, maybe even a bit haphazard, to being proactive, predictive, highly strategic. It gives you a level of insight and foresight that just wasn't possible before. You can make smarter decisions, faster decisions that maximize both the green impact and the financial return. For anyone managing a complex portfolio, AI really offers a significant competitive advantage here. Turns a huge challenge into something manageable, even optimized.
What a journey through those 10 steps.
Yeah.
From the fundamentals of knowing your footprint right through to harnessing AI. It really feels like a complete pathway, doesn't it?
It does. It covers the whole life cycle, from assessment to ongoing optimization.
If you follow these steps, it seems clear you're not just ticking boxes. You're genuinely enhancing asset value, contributing meaningfully to sustainability goals, and locking in operational savings.
Exactly. It's about creating properties that are resilient, valuable, and responsible for the long haul, building a positive legacy, really.
Absolutely. So it leaves you thinking, with this roadmap laid out and these powerful tools becoming available, what kinds of creative solutions might you uncover on your own decarbonization journey? And how could taking action today not just protect, but actually elevate the value and leadership of your assets for many years to come?